Which celebrity's death really stunned you? There was that one time when a Redditor made a post asking why Stephen Hawking wasn't dead yet, and he was reported dead the next morning. I think Hop and everyone reading that post was stunned. Shit, I honestly forgot he was dead. He was the biggest name in science, honestly still is, and it's weird to think he's no longer here. He's the Albert Einstein of our time. Okay, I know it's not something to laugh over, but the comments on that thread had me dying. All of the big ones already mentioned here, of course, Phil Hartman, Robin Williams. But I rarely see John Ritter in these lists, and that was a huge shocker. He was so young, it was sudden and unexpected, and by all accounts he was a great guy. And he died on his young daughter's birthday. I've actually been thinking about this one a lot. I used to watch 8 Simple Rules when I was younger, and I vividly remember how the show handled his death. My own father died 3 weeks ago suddenly and left behind a wife and 2 daughters, so this one's been on my mind. John Ritter was a tough blow for me. He was my first celeb death as a kid that hurt me. I still think about him a lot. I grew up on Three's Company. I wish he was still with us today. Dude was hilarious. Wow. I love all your replies. I'm so glad that Mr. Ritter has brought such happiness to other people's lives as well. When I was a kid I had insomnia and I would stay up too late watching TV. Three's Company was my favorite show and brought me a lot of comfort. I love getting replies that you find him just as funny as I do. Rest in peace, John, we love and miss you. Robin Williams' death hit me pretty hard. He was a legend to me, and all the problems he must have dealt with without anyone to help. It makes me feel guilty and depressed, but I believe that he's happier now and in a much better place. R.I.P. Robbie 20. Anton Yelchin. I always forget that the universe randomly and unceremoniously snuffed him out. Same for a lot of the names on this list. Shit sucks. If somebody else didn't mention Anton I was going to. Just one freak accident, and poof. Doesn't help he and I were the same age. Edit, okay, sorry for the use of freak accident, I thought it would cover something sudden and bad as an umbrella term people would understand. I didn't think people were gonna get into the semantics of it. But then again this is Reddit, so I should have. When I heard the news back in 2016 I was just completely at a loss for words. Still don't know why I wasn't a huge fan or anything, but I was really into the reboot Star Trek series at the time, and the incomprehensible thought that someone I knew was dead really fucked me up. I watched Star Trek Beyond when it came out later, and at the very end they had the in loving memory of Leonard Nimoy, and then the next words were for Anton and I just started crying in the middle of a nearly empty theater. Heath Ledger. Too far down this one. I just rewatched Knight's Tale. My teenage self loved that movie until 10 Things I Hate About You was my theme movie. I hate the fact this comment is so buried, my man Ledger deserves more. Carrie Fisher and then subsequently her mother. Despite her known battle with addiction, it still took me by surprise. Died within a day of each other. I can't imagine how Billie Lourd felt when that all went down. Debbie Reynolds. A beautiful and talented woman in her own right. And while double checking this to make sure I was spelling her name right, I now know why there haven't been any Halloween Town movies for a few years. Eddie Van Halen. I was driving home from work that day, had the local afternoon FM sports guy on the radio. This guy is an extremely obnoxious blowhard, but was choking up on live radio as he announced the news of Eddie's passing. He spoke for a few minutes about the man, his music, and his influence on our world over the years. It was very different hearing such sadness and reverence from that host. Philip Seymour Hoffman. What a powerhouse of talent. Man absolutely carried along came Polly. Anthony Bourdain. As a non-Westerner, what I loved about him was his humility. He was never cocky, I can cook your food better than you, or picky, look at what these people eat, how they make their food. He was always willing to go to the little places, to eat the street food, to talk to people, and in the end he saw all the things that make us human, the shared and universal experience of breaking bread. It was so sad when I heard the news. Every once in a while I see an episode of one of his shows. God bless you, Anthony Bourdain. Completely broke my heart. He was such an inspiration to those of us who love food, the industry, and fighting for the little guys. Man, I miss that dude. Grant Imahara. Came out of nowhere. Edit, everyone seems to be exactly as torn up about Imahara as me. We'll miss you forever, Grant. Grant's death hurt a lot because I grew up on Mythbusters. I even forget sometimes that he's dead, and it surprises me all over again when I read it. Like right now, for instance. He would have been 50 this week. Much too young. Mr. Rogers. Terry Pratchett. I actually cried at my desk at work that day. I didn't even try to hide it. That one is like a triple whammy for me, because he was my favorite author. He wasn't young, but he wasn't super old, so I wasn't ready for it yet, and because when I told my dad, who also loved him, he said he was so young though. He's my age. And it kind of rattled me to realize that people my dad's age were already dying, because I kind of low-key thought my dad would outlive everyone, and suddenly I had to realize that he wouldn't. I know it's not much, but all my software's HTTP endpoints add clacks overhead. GNU Terry Pratchett header to their responses. GNU Terry. Chris Cornell. I miss him. He was such a huge part of my angsty teens. He, and Eddie Vedder, got me through some dark times in my life. It was the first celebrity death that truly hurt. Like I lost someone very close to me. Yup, and then Chester Bennington not too long after. That was rough. Alan Rickman for me. This one. It really threw me for a loop because everyone in high school kept saying I can't believe Snape's actor is dead. Never having watched Harry Potter, it didn't click until someone explained to me that was Alan Rickman. To me, he was the Sheriff of Nottingham and Hans Gruber, but mostly Elliot Marston. It really made me sad to hear of his passing. Bill Paxton. Watched him succeed from small parts, Terminator 2, and True Lies to Twister and Tombstone and Big Love. Just hard to believe. Edited, it's Terminator 1, not too sorry for the confusion. Bill Paxton is dead? Damn. I totally missed that. Frown. I'm glad someone put this up there. He was very talented. His relationships with actors and directors and producers cultivated a very stand-up guy image. His movie Frailty that he starred and directed is really good. R.I.P. Hudson. Christina Grimmie. She wasn't the biggest celebrity, but at the time I was just getting into her music and listening to her covers on YouTube a lot. I don't watch The Voice, but her covers on that show were really great. When I found out she had been shot and killed by a deranged fan, it was truly shocking. She was so young, only 22, with her whole life ahead of her. I still can't believe it. Man, this one hit the worst for me. I loved watching her grow over time as a singer. She toured with Selena Gomez, she collabed with Tayo Cruz in some Coca-Cola sponsor, etc. It was so cool watching this YouTuber slowly inching towards stardom. Then this happened just as her career was taking off. I have to agree with you. Other people have listed celebrities who died of disease, drugs, suicide, etc., but murder has to be the most shocking and most defies understanding. Cameron Boyce. I watched him on Disney shows throughout my childhood, and knowing that he was fine one minute and dead the next was hard. Was looking for this comment. Part of why his hit me so hard was his age. I mean, he was only a few years older than me. I grew up watching him, and then suddenly he's just gone. I had kept up with him after I stopped watching Jesse, but his death fully made me realize that death can happen to anyone at any age. I'd not seen him in anything but was saddened by how young he was. Then when I watched The Descendants, it upset me even more. Oh God. My daughter loves the Descendants movies, and honestly I like them, too. I cried watching it a few times since he passed. And having only recently been diagnosed with his seizure condition. What a shock. Oh my goodness, yes. I didn't know about him or his death when it happened. But not too long ago, I was watching one of his movies where he was pretty young and I thought to myself, I'll bet that kid grew up to be stunning, so I pulled up IMDb. Might have even shed a tear, totally wasn't expecting it. I've also had a high school friend die from an epileptic seizure, and my cousin's life is forever changed by one. So it quickly went from laughing and thinking a little kid was adorable to solemn and heartbroken. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.